Good morning. As Black History Month draws to a close, we thought we would shine our spotlight on that topic from two contemporary perspectives: business and education with a little twist of entertainment. We begin with Adrian and A.K. Bennett, two barrier breakers paving the way for the second generation of their plumbing business. Yes, that's right, I said plumbing. And later, this group will tell us how historically Black colleges and universities are getting their message and mission across to today's youth. It's Sunday, February the 25th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Let me start with you. You are a master plumber, licensed, the first female in the country?
Yes.
When was that, roughly?
I received my master's license in 1984.
1984, okay.
Yes.
You said there might be another one somewhere in the
Yes.
United States right there. There might be two of you now, but you were the very first one. What made you go into that profession? Because you're right. I've used a lot of plumbers in my day at various houses and stuff, and I don't ever remember a female plumber coming in.
I believe the difficulty with working in the environment. It's not an attractive industry. There's job security in the industry, but depending on what the lady is considering, she's got an engineering background, or she's looking at construction, and if she was introduced to it, maybe by her father, her uncle, or cousins, or at school. Mm-hmm. And right now, that's the one thing that we're trying to implement, is that introducing the skilled trades to the junior high level, so they will have some exposure to understand what's involved.
All right. Once you got that master plumber's license,
yes.
You sort of learned your profession, you matriculated through there. You also played an administrative role with the state of Michigan?
Well, as a plumbing inspector with the city of Detroit.
City of Detroit.
With the city of Detroit, I was their first female plumbing inspector.
All right. You've also been involved in some big projects, most recently,
yes.
the new Little Caesars Arena.
That is correct.
One of the major plumbing contractors on that. That had to be one heck of a assignment.
It was exciting. Our project manager, AK, he plays hockey. So he really wanted to be and participate on that project. So he is really the reason we pursued it.
All right, AK,
yes.
You're the project manager.
Yes.
Educated, just recently got your master's, or a few years ago, at Lawrence Tech, right across the street there. In what field?
Construction engineering management.
All right, good field. When you heard that you guys had landed that contract for the Little Caesars Arena, and you've done other big projects before that, what went through your mind?
Nervousness with a tinge of excitement, but it was the process of negotiations and getting our contract it took some time, and finally it was nice to get to that finish line, but it was another start. So it was a lot of planning that went into it, but it was a moment I'll never forget.
And what advice would you give to young people coming along as they're trying to decide what kind of professions they may want to go into that can be lucrative professions?
Well, before we landed the contract, we had to make sure we could fund it, because we're a union and we have weekly payroll as well as fringe benefits that we pay on a monthly basis. So we had to make sure we're able to pay our suppliers as well as our labor rate. And with that, we needed to seek some additional funding. We have pockets, but they're not deep pockets. And for a project like that, we needed to make sure we could cover all our bases.
I feel whether it's on the trade side or the administrative side, there's not as many in the, Generation X population. So I think a lot more millennials are getting entrusted with responsibilities above their peers or other millennials in different industries. So that's one thing we've noticed, is there's a lot of becoming a project manager or project engineer earlier, and it's exciting, but it's something that I think is different than most other industries. Speaking with some of my friends, that it's very different, the amount of responsibility I have and others that are working construction in our age group in different fields.
Okay, we'll be right back. Stay with us. people that have had a lot of impact on people in this region. One is Ray Waters,
Yes.
With the Detroit Investment Fund. And Ray has mentored a whole lot of small businesses and medium-sized businesses and even large businesses. And then a conversation I had recently with Jerry Anderson of DTE Energy. Talk about the involvement that you had on both of those ends in terms of training and what Ray Waters did for you.
Well, let me mention on the education piece first. We currently are at the second phase over at Randolph. We're the plumbing contractor over at Randolph, working with DTE and with Bart Mallow. We were there before they reopened the school to start getting things together, so the school could open and the children, could get in there and start learning on the skilled trade side. There's been an absence in the schools that at one time we had wood shop, we had metal shop.
That's right.
And they need to bring those type of classes back. First, you learn a trade. So anyone that has a solid trade will never be unemployed, because you can go out there and you can be self-employed and you'll be able to perform a task and you do it the correct way. And the one thing we're working with City Council President Brenda Jones, she has a skilled trades task force. And with that, we ask the community to come in and we sit and we talk to the community about the different trades that are available. Now, but that's on the adult level, but what they do is they'll go back and talk to their children and let the children know about the exposure to being in the skilled trades.
So it's word of mouth to a great extent.
It's word of mouth, yes. Yeah. But getting to Mr. Waters, we, as I said earlier, financially, we knew we did not have the deep pockets to fund the Little Caesars Arena. Through the Entrepreneurs of Color program, we went to the Detroit Development Fund. We qualified for it, and we were able to get a project-specific line of credit for the Little Caesars Arena. Okay. And successfully paid it off. And so now Mr. Waters is happy to support us on our next big project.
All right. Any insight into what that next big one is coming along?
I'll let AK handle that one.
All right, AK. What's ahead? What's the future?
Well, we wrapping up, as you said, a small job in terms of the amount of money, the contract value, but it was some of the preliminary work for a certain tower you just mentioned.
The Hudson Tower.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were pleased to be the first plumbers working out there.
And when that is finished, I understand that will be the tallest building in Detroit. And
yes.
One of the, I think I heard someone describe the other day, one of the tallest between Detroit and Chicago.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that was exciting. And there's some other projects right now that I don't want to say what we're looking at, but we're looking at some other major ones right in these next few weeks.
All right, and I understand that in the business world, there are times when you can talk about things, and there are times when it's premature to talk about things, so we don't want to screw up anything for you. One final thought. If you had to look out there and talk to young African Americans coming along, or people of any color, and saying, what do you think the future holds in terms of skilled trades if they get involved? What message would you send to them and maybe to educators?
Well, what I would say is that they have to have the strong STEM background. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We can't get away from that because mathematics is in everything. From the time you set your clock to get up in the morning to the time you go back to bed. You're driving a certain amount of miles, you're watching your clock. Time and numbers are involved in our daily life. We need to have the stronger math skills, and we also need to be stronger in the sciences. And our children need to have the exposure. Fortunately, all three of my children graduated from high school and had college scholarships. And that's a blessing. I got 3 out of 3. And now we have a granddaughter that's doing the same thing. So that's 4 out of 4. So that's possible for all families. But the parents need to get involved with their children, stay involved with their children, stay involved with their children's schools, their teachers, and making sure that our children today are being exposed to the new technology and to the mathematics and having the strong reading skills, because we can't get away from that, Chuck. We need that definitely. That's never going to change.
AK, you're the next generation
yes.
of a business that your mother started. What is it that you want to do most so that years from now, she's very proud?
Well, within the next few years, I'd like for her to take some of the load off of her on certain things, and I want the industry to recognize what she's done, not because only she is a black woman, but just what she's done. There are very few, and I've met a lot of people now, and every day I'm meeting someone new in this industry, that have held the breadth of roles that she has, whether they are a man, woman, whether they're white, black, brown, etc. To be an inspector, to be a senior project manager for a major health system, to be a business owner, to work in the field, to the certifications she's had. It's almost unparalleled, specifically in plumbing, but in the entire construction industry.
A true role model.
Yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing with the skilled trades, making sure that young people understand that you will work in the field, you'll start out in the field, you need to get that experience, but you don't have to stay working in the field for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, because it can take a toll on your body. So you can become an estimator, a project manager, a superintendent, a foreman. Those are professional roles. You can be in charge of a budget as big as some companies, being a superintendent or foreman or project manager. You know, if you're working on a $10 million, $100 million project. You can be a safety manager. There are a lot of things that you can become a manager, administrator, or an owner yourself once you get that skilled trades experience. All right.
A.K. Bennett, good way to end this segment, good way to end this particular topic and theme for today. Adrian Bennett, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure talking with both of you. Best of luck in the future, and keep us posted when you can about whether it's the Hudson Tower or it's something even bigger than that, and that's going to be a tall order because that's going to be a big building. Yes. We'll be back with more guests. Stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight. We've changed locations slightly here, and we're going to turn our attention to historically black colleges and universities and the role that they play and how they oftentimes do that through entertainment and music to sort of get across to the rest of the world what their real mission is all about. Three people who know a lot about it are with me today. Franklin Wilkerson, he is president of the Morehouse College Detroit Alumni Association. Seated next to him is Raina Baker. She is program manager for the Motown Museum. And at the far end there is Carl Norris. He's wearing two hats today. One, he's over the Michigan Morehouse Foundation Scholarship, and he is also event chair for the Morehouse College Glee Club concert that's coming up in, well, just a couple weeks from now. We'll be talking about that. Welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you for having us.
It is nothing new for the Morehouse College Glee Club to come to Detroit. I've been many times before. What's new is the level that you're taking it this year, but you're taking it to what was oftentimes called now a mega church, 3,000 seats. Franklin Wilkerson, why?
Well, because Carl and I have been talking about ways to amplify the event and really make more of an impact in the local community. And Bishop Edgar Van, he has been a champion for this event and having us come.
He's the pastor of Second Ebenezer.
He's the pastor of Second Ebenezer. His son, Edgar Van III, is a Morehouse alum himself.
Right. And in full interest of disclosure, I should say, along with Franklin and Carl, I'm also a Morehouse man, and we're all proud Morehouse men.
Definitely.
And Raina, in fairness here, is a proud graduate of Howard University. My youngest daughter would want me to get that in.
So we, as amplifying the event goes, we knew Second Ebenezer would be the perfect venue for the event. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, we also have a big focus on doing things locally in the community to try to uplift the community. And we knew that there was a big project going on with the Motown Museum.
Right, the expansion.
The expansion project. So we decided to tie our brands together in the interest of building a bigger event, supporting both education on our side and then supporting the expansion on the Motown side. And the big premise is valuing our institutions and supporting our values, supporting the legacies that we feel cover a lot of values in our community: education, excellence, this commitment to really institutions that have helped shape America. Right. And so that's why we did that with the Motown Museum.
And certainly a good cause and a good thing to aim for. Raina, this partnership with the Motown Museum, it's no secret that Berry Gordy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had many different types of associations that go way back, and they had a great partnership. So this is a pretty much a natural thing to happen, right?
Absolutely. So a lot of people don't know about Motown's spoken word arm called the Black Forum label. It was active in the early 70s. It's now defunct, unfortunately. But Berry Gordy aims to provide a platform for Black orators and thought leaders. So we have captured albums or speeches from Dr. King, we have Kwame Ture, we have The Last Poets, we have Elaine Brown, Langston Hughes. All that history happened here. And what's special is that the Great March to Freedom was recorded on Gordy in Detroit before DC. And so Dr. King and Berry Gordy were associated in that way. But Berry Gordy also helped with Dr. King's payroll for some time.
Right, yeah, a lot of people don't realize that he was on the Motown payroll for a little bit. Let me read you something that Berry Gordy said when he was honored by the Congressional Black Caucus a few years ago. He said, "Dr. King told me that my music was really about social integration while he was trying to bring about intellectual and political integration. He wanted me to join him in his movement, and he wanted me to be a part of the Motown label." Carl Norris, you get the real headache in all this, trying to fill up 3,000 seats there, but you're doing it for a very good cause. Talk a little bit about this Glee Club and why it is known throughout the world.
Well, our Glee Club is world renowned. It's been all over the world, including Africa and Europe, performing at requests by various dignitaries around the world. This Glee Club has performed here in Detroit for the last 25 years. And we do it every other year here. And we typically perform in one of the local churches around. Our audience is typically somewhere between 900 and 1,000 and 1,100 people. And this year, in keeping with Franklin and my focus in terms of being more involved in the community, and one of the ways we wanted to be more involved in the community is provide an opportunity for young men in Detroit and in the surrounding areas to have opportunities for scholarships to actually go to Morehouse. And that's why we created the Morehouse, Michigan Scholarship Foundation, for which I'm the chair. And we created that for the sole purpose of raising funds in order to provide scholarship opportunities for young men in the Detroit area.
When we come back, we'll pick up on this very worthy cause. Stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight. Franklin, one of the most impressive things when you see the Glee Club is, first of all, how they enter whatever venue they're singing in. That usually impresses people tremendously, besides obviously the vocal talent that they have. But at intermission, coming out of that, you always have them where at some point in the concert, the young men introduce themselves and they say where they're from and what they're majoring in. And it's sort of a who's who from across this nation because it's an extremely diverse group.
Yes.
Why is that important in terms of the mentorship that you do and where you're trying to get young men from high school onto college?
It's critical, Chuck, because the reality is we're in a tough situation right now in education. Everybody knows that. The difference, though, is that there aren't a lot of people talking about doing something about it. So we've started an initiative called the Illumination Initiative several years ago to really touch young men with our alums, with their experiences, their professions. So we've done mentoring at Frederick Douglass Academy, at McKenzie K-8, and currently we're in a program called MASSOP, which is Morehouse Alumni STEM Outreach Program at Cass Tech. And that's being headed by our own Charles Hicks, whose great-grandfather was one of the founders of Morehouse College. And the idea is to help pipeline young men, and even in MASSOP, women. They're not even going to Morehouse, but the idea is to increase the pipeline of young people to college through our exposure to what the experiences that our alums have had.
Raina, some years ago when I interviewed Berry Gordy out in Los Angeles, he talked about his love for Sammy Davis Jr., who he thought was the greatest entertainer in the world, and That was one of the reasons he wanted him to be the one to record Hello Detroit, which Berry Gordy wrote. He talked about his love for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who of course is the most famous Morehouse College alumnus. And he talked about his love for Detroit. Yeah. All of this is being wrapped up into the Motown Museum, but now you're taking Motown Museum to another level with this expansion. Yes,
I'm really excited to work with our chairwoman and CEO, Robin Terry, on this project. We're expanding the museum 50,000 square feet. Everyone knows that. And right now we're in the midst of heavy fundraising, so that's our focus. But what's exciting for me is that we'll be able to increase the programming magnitude at the museum. Robin has said we've been a jewel in our own backyard for so long, and now we'll become a community resource. So one of the programs that I'm spearheading for the first time this year is a Black Legacy program, and it's the celebration of Black businesses in Detroit, and this year specifically Black family businesses. So we'll touch on Paradise Valley, we'll touch on Black Bottom a little bit, but we'll also learn the backstory about the business brilliance of Motown and how the family philosophies help to maintain their business. And we'll also be in touch and have conversation with the Thomas family from Sweet Potato Sensation, so a newer business out of the group, but also the Coles family from James Cole Funeral Home and the Mays family from Mays Family Printing.
Carl Norris, at the Glee Club event, which the date again, just to make sure everybody knows.
March 14th.
March 14th, okay. What time will it begin?
7 p.m.
All right, and tickets are still available?
Tickets are still available. You can pick up tickets at the Motown Museum, or you can pick up tickets at Second Ebenezer Church. But you can also go to DetroitMorehouseAlumni.org to our website, and you can pick up tickets online in that way.
Best of luck with the event. Obviously, I'll see you guys there. And thanks so much for coming in. Okay, Raina, thank you so much. Carl, thank you so much. And about a week after the Morehouse event, another special HBCU scholarship fundraiser hosted by the Detroit Talladega College Alumni Association. The nationally recognized Talladega College Choir from Alabama will perform on Sunday, March 25th at Plymouth United Church of Christ in Detroit. In the past, the famed choir has performed with Grammy Award winner Yolanda Adams. Proceeds will fund scholarships for local students. For more information on how to attend, go to our website at WXYZ.com. Do yourself a favor and support both events. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.